This woman surprised her whole family when she walked into her own funeral and confronted her husband
for calling the hitman on her.
Bro, what? Tonight, I went into the dark side of TikTok and you won't believe what I found. Before the video starts, family, I just want to thank all my channel members for support. It says around 90% of you guys are not subscribed right now. So if you're part of that 90%, make sure to subscribe and join the family. Let's go.
To my knowledge, this right here is not the official footage for this story. However, it does kind of paint the idea, so that's why I'm using it. This clip shows the infamous leader of North Korea, Kim Jong-un, pointing to a crowd of people who are in attendance to whatever he's doing here. We then see this guy who supposedly looks like he's sleeping, and then Kim starts looking pretty upset, and this guy starts whispering in his ear. This video was posted in reference to the former defense minister of North Korea, Hyeon Young-chol, who supposedly fell asleep during an event that Kim Jong-un attended. This infuriated Kim. He said that this was treason, and he had Hyeon removed from the gene pool for this act of treason by using anti-aircraft gunfire. This event did not happen recently though, even though it's just now being posted about. This took place back in 2015, so over a decade ago now. Also, I do want to put this out there. This information was gathered by South Korean spies, so it's not 100% confirmed, but it might as well be 99%.
Bro, anti-aircraft weapons? That's overkill. He didn't even need to do all that.
After 6 p.m. on December 27th, 2015, a woman named Sarah Robinson was getting ready inside of her cabin on the 7th floor of a massive cruise ship. She and her boyfriend were going to dinner that night with Sarah's parents in one of the restaurants on board the ship. They left their cabin and they met Sarah's parents out in the hallway, and then Sarah led the way towards the stairwell that would bring them up to the 10th floor where the restaurant was that they were going to. Once they reached the 10th floor, Sarah could see right in front of her the entrance to this restaurant. And to get there, they would have to walk past this sort of lobby right in front of the restaurant where there was this elevator bank. They walked past these elevators. Sarah began to hear what sounded like rain. She instinctively kind of looked around the corner out one of the windows, and it was still clear and beautiful out. A woman who they didn't know, who was standing near these elevators as well, began to scream. It would turn out just a few minutes before this woman began to scream, the cruise ship's chief electrician, 66-year-old Jose Sandoval Opazo, had begun doing routine maintenance on the elevators that were located a few floors below the 10th floor, but still within that same elevator bank. There was oftentimes a lot of very quick and easy maintenance that would need to get done on these elevators, which would involve going into the elevator shaft to do it. The procedure was to actually fully shut down that elevator, but it was just kind of a hassle. And so Jose and the other electricians had come up with this sort of workaround that didn't require them to shut down the elevator. And so what they would do is they would wait until the elevator car within the shaft they needed to do maintenance on was at some other level, like on floor 2, and they would go into the elevator on like floor 8 and then quickly do the maintenance. But all of it was predicated on just kind of knowing where the elevator car was in the shaft and being really quick. And so Jose and the other electricians had done this many times, but on this day, Jose, he got into the elevator shaft to make these simple repairs, and so he actually was standing on top of the elevator car, and suddenly the car lurched into action because a guest unknowingly had walked into the elevator car and pressed floor 10. The little opening that he used, the kind of service entrance into the shaft, had been covered up by the elevator car. And so his exit was now gone, and he was now relatively slowly moving up the shaft. Now, Jose would have no idea when this car was going to stop, but if it went to the top, he'd get crushed. Would arrive quickly on the scene, but there was nothing they could do. Jose was deceased.
There's this video, security camera footage of a security guard at a hospital by himself. This is at nighttime already, right? And he saw these two kids. They were sitting at the waiting area, right? Yeah. He's like, oh, they look cute. He's gonna go on his break and he's gonna grab food. He came back with balloons for the kids. Okay. And I'm gonna show you the footage of what happens to the kids. He brings the balloons to them. Okay. You see the kids, right?
Wait, what do you mean you see the kids?
There was no kids at all. There's not kids at all. And you can see the balloons following him.
Yeah.
He sees the kids bring the balloons to him and he's talking to them. He's seeing spirits.
Oh, he's seeing
He's seeing children with the balloons and walking back with him.
So why is he talking to them?
And he was talking to them as if they're there still.
Oh my, that's insane. It would make sense in a hospital.
And then the theory was the kids know that they're spirits, but they wanted balloons so they can prove that they're still there.
Yo, I know so many haunted videos that include a balloon.
Because they're trying to show that they're moving.
Exactly,
They can hold on to something. And that's something they can manipulate very easily. It would take less force.
Yeah.
Ready to start your day? Jacked up! I've got the perfect way to get your day going. My sugar-packed Frosted Flakes will get your body pumped with almost half the daily amount of sugar. We make sure our cereal lasts a long time. That's why we add BHT. It might be carcinogenic, but who cares? This shit will last forever. And let's not forget about the Red 40. We don't even need this in it, but it's part of our secret ingredient that keeps you all sick. Damn, this shit is banging! I can feel the sugar in my veins! So what are you waiting for? Grab a bowl and fill it up with some of Tony's special flakes. You know you can't resist the urge. Frosted Shit Flakes. They're great!
Just to think that like less than 50 years ago, everyone agreed that cereal was a healthy breakfast option, when in reality, it's literally just straight sugar. I want a healthy breakfast, just stick to the generic eggs. I feel like eggs can never go wrong, dude.
Is Hauska Castle really a portal to hell? The people who built it weren't trying to keep something out. They were trying to keep something in. Most castles were built to defend from outsiders, but Hauska Castle in the Czech Republic was built in the middle of nowhere. There's not a water source, there's not strategic value, no easy access, yet it was heavily protected against attack. And people believe this is because it was built on top of a massive hole in the ground. A bottomless pit that locals believed led straight to hell. And the goal wasn't to protect the land, it was to trap whatever was inside. When the hole was first discovered, prisoners were offered pardons if they agreed to be lowered inside. The first volunteer lasted seconds before screaming to be pulled out. And the really creepy thing is that when they got him up, he was reportedly aged beyond recognition. His hair had turned white, he was rambling about creatures with bat-like wings crawling up the walls, and that's when people started to refer to it as the gateway to hell. Even creepier is that the castle's chapel is built directly over that hole, almost like it's a seal. And the windows are fake, it's just stone painted to look like windows. There was never any intention of anyone actually living here. It was a containment zone, not a home. Visitors over the years have reported seeing black figures walking the walls, hearing screams from the pit below, and seeing winged creatures flying overhead. There have also been reports of animal mutilations nearby, but no signs of predators. Honestly, I think they were trying to contain something that they didn't understand. And what creeps me out the most is that this pit is still there. Hauska Castle is literally open to visitors. Would you stand over the gateway to hell and look down? I just posted a new video going through a serial killer victim's diary.
A student once accidentally killed his classmate. In a panic, he dumped the body into the old well behind his house, planning to move it the next day. But when he came back, the body was gone. Completely gone. Years later, he got a job. After a heated argument with his boss, he snapped and killed him too. Once again, he threw the body into that same well, and just like before. The next morning, it vanished. He started to believe that the well had some kind of power, that it could make anything disappear. One day, after fighting with his wife, his rage took over. He killed her and tossed her body into the well. The next day, it was gone again. From that day on, something inside him changed. He no longer felt fear or guilt, only darkness. Years passed. His mother grew sick and bedridden. Tired of taking care of her, he threw her into the same well. But this time, the body didn't disappear. Days passed. The smell began to spread. Neighbors noticed. The police came. And finally, the well that had hidden his sin gave him up too. Do you know why his mother's body never disappeared?
Bruh. I'm gonna be trying to figure out, why did the body disappear? Because in my opinion, it's like, it only makes sense for it to stay where he put it.
Oh, Jack got it. Oh, dang, dog. That was perfect.
Right, no, okay, that's totally normal. A lot of people are asking, where did this fish come from? Come here. Where is it going? We are not asking the right questions. Where is this fish going? Because I don't want to be there when it gets there. Does that make sense? This fish is called the Atlantic Goliath grouper fish. And the reason why they call it the Goliath grouper fish is because it can get as big as 800 pounds. Right? The way that they eat their food using a thing called the ambush method, meaning they're really, really good at hiding. For 800-pound fish, they're really good at hiding and then sneaking up on whatever they're going to eat and then eating said fish like we just saw. So here's the thing. Knowing that 800-pound Goliath-sized fish can hide really well, the next time anybody asks, hey, Jordan, you want to go swimming? Want to go to the beach? Get closer. No, I'd much rather just not talk again at that point.
That motherfucker vicious as hell. I heard this is a bear with rabies, gang. Pray to God I never get caught in the forest with a bear with fucking rabies. You fucking monster. I ain't gonna lie, this might be the closest thing we gonna have to a werewolf. So, ladies, y'all still picking a fucking bear? That motherfucker gonna gnaw every part of your body off. You still picking a fucking bear? That motherfucker vicious as hell. You still picking a fucking bear? Just asking. Just asking. Don't come at me. Oh, shit. That motherfucker was ready. You see how hard that bitch trying to get out that cage? That motherfucker ready for war. Matter of fact, the next war we have, let's inject a bunch of bears with rabies and unleash them bitches on the battlefield. I bet we win that motherfucker lickety split. I bet we do.
Bruh. A bear with the rabies? I'm not gonna lie, if we did do what he's saying, unleash it on the battlefield, it's gonna eat the allies. The people that literally injected them, it's gonna eat them.
In her most recent concert, Taylor Swift is performing witchcraft. And I know this is gonna raise some controversy in the comments, but this just doesn't look right to me.
Wait for the signal, then I'll meet you
This is the real Ronald McDonald, not the one you remember from commercials. In 1892, a drifter named Ronald McDonald toured county fairs across the Midwest. Bright red coat, yellow waistcoat, a painted smile so wide it cut into his kept the smile, and every time you've seen it since, you've been looking at a killer's face.
That's kind of like a double meaning almost.
Why?
Because I feel like they're telling you that McDonald's kills, fast food kills.
Wait a minute. Remember my theory about fast food and how there's not enough beef to go around?
Yeah.
What if that story is actually true? And not only that, in the video, he was showing that he was kidnapping kids. There's a lot of missing kids. There's a lot of missing people. They might be using humans for fast food. What if this is like the actual dark origin that we don't know about?
You can't put it past them. Because at the end of the day, McDonald's does kill.
We could be eating human beings.
Well, didn't they say that it's part of the meat is tested positive for human?
A portion of a lot of fast food tests positive for human DNA. Only 30% of Taco Bell meat is actually beef.
What the fuck are we eating?
What's the other 70%?
This woman surprised her whole family when she walked into her own funeral and confronted her husband for calling a hitman on her.
What? She walked into her own funeral?
Yes. So this happened in Australia in 2015 to this lady named Noella Rukundo. Originally, she's from Burundi, but in 2004, she ended up moving to Australia where she met this guy who ended up becoming her husband. Everything seems so far so good in their relationship. Around 2015 in January, her mother back in Burundi ends up passing away. So she goes back to Burundi for her mother's funeral. While she's at her mother's funeral, she's staying like at a hotel. She ends up getting a call from her husband. And her husband pretty much tells her like to go outside because there's something out there for you. She goes outside her hotel. She gets snatched by a bunch of dudes, throw her into her car, tie her up, take her to a warehouse. She already thinks like, holy shit, like I'm dead. I'm gonna die. Luckily for her though, one of the hitmen knew her brother back in Burundi.
Really?
Yes. So he's like, all right, look, I'm not gonna kill you, but I just want to let you know your husband is the one
Who set you up.
Who called me to get you.
Wow.
And at first she was like, no way, I don't believe you. He calls the husband.
Yeah.
And tells him like, look,
The
I got her.
job's done.
The job's done. I got her. Do you want me to kill her? And she hears her own husband like, okay, yeah, do it. Get rid of her.
Wow.
He pretty much sets this girl free though. She ends up going back to Australia without anybody knowing. And she starts to talk to the police because she has proof of all the messages. So she has all the proof that her husband sent the hitman out on her. Instead of just right away confronting her husband, she decides to make a plan. So she talks to the local church where she knows they will have her funeral at. She's cool with the pastor. The day of the funeral, she walks in. Her whole family shook. No one knows that she's alive. Everyone thinks she's dead. She goes right up to her husband and she tells him like, no, I know what the hell you did. You called these hitmen to come kill me.
Yeah.
The police come in, arrest him right then and there, damn near. The reason why he called the hitman on her,
I was just gonna ask.
he was jealous and he was scared that she was gonna leave him for another man.
This is Insecure Final Boss.
I swear to God.
Bro. So you decide to eliminate her because of your own insecurity.
Creepy real photos that keep me up at night part 21. This photo was posted to Reddit with the caption, "My friend has recently shown me this picture from 2016 of him and his brother at the front of Blackpool Beach at 7 a.m. Photo taken by their mother. When they looked at the photo, they saw the figure in between legs and looked around and nobody was there. Does anybody have any thoughts? No thoughts here. Follow for more creepy real photos.
Things then versus now. Toilet paper now. Then. Airplane seats now. Then. Nurses now. Then. Mickey and Minnie now. Then. Diving suit now. Then. Vacuums now. Then.
In 2010, a young couple arrives at the Budget Lodge Motel just outside Memphis, Tennessee. It's not glamorous, but the surprisingly quiet neighborhood makes it a reasonable place to stay. As the couple unpacks, they can't help but notice a sour smell lingering in the air. It isn't unusual for a place like this, but it's enough to make them pause. Unable to tolerate the stench, the couple reports to the front desk, demanding to speak with the manager. He listens, offers a half-hearted apology, and asks them to wait in the lobby for 30 minutes while a staff member cleans the room again. Fresh linens and half a bottle of Febreze later, the sour smell remains. Despite this, the couple chooses to stay, tempted by the low price. Over the next 6 weeks, the same room is rented out again and again. What started as a sour smell has grown into an outright foul odor. 4 different guests stay there, each one reporting the same issue. By the time the 5th guest checks in, the manager is fed up with the ongoing complaints. He orders a thorough deep clean, calling in every available housekeeping staff member to scrub the room from top to bottom. They shampoo the carpets, scrub the floors, wipe down the walls and even the ceiling. The mattress is swapped out, the linens replaced. But despite their efforts, the odor never fully disappears. Desperate for answers, the manager makes the ultimate decision. He'll clean every inch of the room himself. He moves slowly, clearing furniture one piece at a time. When he gets to the bed, he crouches down, grips the frame, and lifts.
Bro, so you telling me one day we were changing out the mattress, no one saw that?
I felt like I'd stumbled.
His grandfather may have had connections to North Fox Island, a private island that later became the subject of a conspiracy theory rumored to be linked to a child trafficking ring. Except it wasn't just a rumor. The horrors people spoke of happening on this desolate island, which was supposed to be a nature camp for young boys, turned out to be completely true. I covered the story behind the island in part 1, so if you haven't seen that yet, be sure to go watch it because it's absolutely crazy and you will otherwise be completely lost. But this is the part 2 video, and if you enjoy content like this, make sure to follow. While the conspiracy surrounding North Fox Island turned out to be true, one rumor that can't be confirmed is whether or not JonBenet Ramsey's family had any involvement in the island's operations. Even though we can't confirm it, I'm gonna tell you what we do know for a fact, and you can decide how the pieces fit together for yourself. The Ramsey family was known to have a vacation home in Charlevoix, Michigan, which is just a stone's throw away from North Fox Island. JonBenet's paternal grandfather, Jay Ramsey, was also involved in aviation, specifically with the Michigan Aeronautics Commission during the 1970s. That's the same decade when North Fox Island was being used as a front for a child trafficking ring operating under the guise of a non-profit organization. If you don't remember or haven't watched part 1, the very first thing Frank Sheldon did after purchasing the island was built an airstrip so small planes could land and shuttle boys in and out. So it was during this same period of time that Jay Ramsey served as the director of the Michigan Aeronautics Commission, meaning that he was responsible for licensing and overseeing airstrips built throughout the state. He held that position for 22 years, and during that time, the number of licensed airports in Michigan grew from 130 to 322. Now, this doesn't prove any connection between him and North Fox Island, but it does suggest that the project most likely would have crossed his desk, and that he was most likely the one that had to have approved Sheldon's airstrip on the island. We also know that Sheldon was a well-known figure in Charlevoix, the same area where the Ramsey family owned property. The story of North Fox Island broke in 1977, and Jay Ramsey retired just 2 years later in 1979. Those are the facts. Whether or not they point to JonBenet's family being involved with North Fox Island is purely speculative, and I'd love to hear your thoughts about it in the comments, but what we do have more evidence for is that the island's operations have been linked to the Oakland County child killer, an unidentified serial killer who targeted children in the suburban areas just north of Detroit. I can dive deeper into that connection in part 3, or you can go check out my 2-part podcast episode on this topic by searching Oddities on Elm Street wherever you get your podcasts.
Once you hear this, your brain will never be the same. Listen carefully.
It was a sunny day and the children were going to the park.
That probably sounded like an unknown robotic language. This is where it gets crazy. I'm going to play a new audio clip, and it will forever change what you hear.
It was a sunny day and the children were going to the park.
So now, if I replay the first clip, you will hear something completely different.
It was a sunny day and the children were going to the park.
That first clip never had a voice in it, but because your brain has been given more context, you'll never unhear that voice again. Make sure to share this video with a friend and follow me for more mind games.
Yo, chat, y'all think that's true? You think if we replay the clip right now that I'm gonna hear the same exact thing? Cause I don't know, I'm a little bit suspicious. Let me know if it's true or not.
This teacher got executed by the cartel. On July 18, 2025, 62-year-old Irma Hernandez Cruz left her home in Veracruz just like any other day. But Irma wasn't just any worker. She was a retired elementary school teacher, a woman known by her neighbors as kind, humble, and hardworking. And even after retiring from education, she stayed active by driving Taxi 554, a job she took on proudly to support her family and stay independent. She owned 2 cars, was deeply involved in her community, and respected as humble and hardworking by those who knew her. But that Friday, she didn't come home. Witnesses say she was abducted in broad daylight right from the taxi stand outside the Mercado Municipal. Our man grabbed her, shoved her in the pickup truck, and vanished without a trace. 4 days later, a video began to circulate on social media. Irma kneeling, her expression was blank, almost numb, surrounded by masked gunmen with assault rifles. And then she spoke. Taxi drivers, pay your fee. With the Veracruz Mafia, you don't play around or you'll end up like me. Guys, you can hear her voice crack. But what breaks you isn't the words, it's knowing she was completely innocent. She didn't belong to any cartel. She wasn't involved in crime. She was just trying to live with dignity in a state plagued by extortion. 6 days after she disappeared on July 24, authorities found her body. It had been dumped at a rural ranch over 40 kilometers away. She wasn't shot. She wasn't stabbed. Guys, she died from a heart attack caused by the extreme torture and stress her captors inflicted on her. She was beaten so badly, her body shut down.
Absolutely none of the NASA worshippers are ready for this one. So in 1962, 3 men escaped from Alcatraz without a trace, completely vanished from one of the highest security and hardest to escape prisons in America. They just gone. And then 7 years later, these 3 men land on the moon, stepping onto the world stage. Now, is it just me, or do these faces look eerily similar? Maybe you guys don't see it yet, but let me show you. Here are the 3 escapees from Alcatraz prison that got away with life vests, apparently. And here's the 3 men that landed on the moon: Buzz Aldrin, Michael Collins, and Neil Armstrong. They couldn't possibly all be a match, right? They couldn't all be the same people. Let's start with Neil, though. Let's see the overlay on Neil here. Whoa. Damn. That is shockingly the exact same facial features. What a striking coincidence. Have a look at Michael Collins now. Damn. I mean, maybe the nose. Nope, it's looking. Whoa. Yeah. Very interesting stuff, guys. Again, entertainment purposes only here. This is strictly for entertainment. Let's have a look at Buzz Aldrin here. The guy that says that we never went to the moon, by the way. He won't admit it. He says that we never went. Let's overlay the face. Damn. You know when children ask him why we haven't been to the moon, and he's like, because we didn't go. We haven't gone to the moon. And here these men are, heroes, still standing vindicated, but the eyes are useless when the mind is blind. NASA believers. Bah, bah.
No way he just started meh, like NASA believers are sheeps. That's hilarious. I feel like the resemblance is definitely there, and I could see like how the conspiracy, but in my opinion, 100% a stretch, dude. To be an astronaut, that is one of the rarest positions on Earth, and I doubt if they spent time in jail, they have enough time to become an astronaut, in my opinion. But at the same time, if the moon landing was fake and it was all like CGI, whatever the hell we claim it was, I could see it being possible.
Apple. What?
If you were to look at this woman, you'd think she looks pretty straight-laced, pretty normal, probably hasn't done very many bad things in her life, but you would be wrong here. She did some pretty questionable things. This is another Hey Apple slideshow. The first image here shows a woman, Barbara Bakeland, with her son, Anthony. The second image shows Anthony grown up as a young man, and the final image shows Barbara again. Barbara was a wealthy socialite and as such had a lot of social pressure. So when her son came out as not really being a fan of girls, she did some pretty drastic things to try to change that. She attempted to hire him women of the night. When this didn't work, she took it a step further. So she allegedly had her own relations with her son to try to turn him straight. This of course did not work, and it only deepened his already existing mental problems like schizophrenia. Anthony then attempted to take his mother's life once, but failed. He was released and then succeeded the second time when she allowed him back into her home. Anthony was then committed to mental institutions. He was let out once, attempted to take the life of his grandmother, went back, and then he ended up removing himself from the equation.
So this woman is about to assassinate a famous pop star. So let's call her Yo. And Yo's around 30 years old, she's living in Texas, and one night in the early 90s, she's at a concert, and there's this local act on stage. And Yo is blown away by the singer. She's like, this woman is amazing, I love her, I am such a huge fan. Not only that, Yo goes home and she starts thinking about her all the time. Like, she wants to be best friends with this singer and be close to her. So she decides to start a fan club, like an official fan club. And she contacts the singer's manager, who's also the singer's dad. So we'll just call him Dad. So Yo reaches out to Dad and she's like, do you mind if I start a fan club? And Dad's like, I don't know. We don't really have the time or the budget to run a fan club. And Yo's like, no, I'll do it all for free. You don't have to pay me. And Dad is still like, nah. But Yo isn't gonna give up. She keeps calling Dad over and over again. She really wants to be close to the singer. And so finally, after about 15 phone calls, Dad finally agrees to let her start an official fan club. So Yo starts working on this out of her home, and she's running this fan club, and she's going to concerts, and she's signing people up. And the fans pay a membership fee, and Yo will then send them posters and t-shirts and stuff like that, and she legitimately does a good job running this club. In fact, she does such a good job that management eventually lets her meet this singer herself in person, and that singer's name is Selena. And so over time, as the years pass, Yo starts to get in good with Selena. She's helping her out with things and she's starting to get close to her. And later, they even make her an employee of the business and they start paying her. And pretty soon, she's scheduling appointments for Selena and basically running her life. While Selena, her star is rising fast and she's getting more and more famous. And as a side hustle, she opens 2 clothing boutiques. And Yo is doing such a good job assisting Selena, they promote her and they have her start managing these boutiques. And so here she is running all this stuff for Selena and she's around her all the time and Yo knows soon enough she'll finally be her close friend. Until at some point Yo screws everything up. She starts skimming money from the business. I mean, she's managing the finances for the clothing boutiques and she's still managing the finances for the fan club, and she starts writing checks to herself and making up fake invoices. So over time, the clothing boutiques start losing money. Plus, while she's scamming all this money, she's still hyper-focused on trying to get Selena to be close to her. Like one time she collects $3,000 from employees of the company to buy Selena a gift, like a gift from all the employees. And they collectively decide to buy Selena a ring with diamonds. And the diamonds are in like an egg shaped. Looks like this. Because Selena is a big fan of Fabergé eggs. And so Yo takes this $3,000 from the employees and she pockets it. And then she goes out and buys the ring with Selena's company credit card. Not only that, she then gives the ring to Selena and pretends it's not a gift from all the employees, but that it's a gift only from her. And of course, Selena loves the ring and she's so grateful for it. Here's a photo of her actually wearing it and you can see it on her hand here. And she totally thinks Yo got it for her alone. And she's like, yo, we're gonna be best friends for life. And so Yo finally has what she wants. This woman she's been obsessing over for years is now her close friend. Meanwhile, Dad, who's still managing Selena and the whole business, he notices that there's all this money missing from the boutiques and from the fan club. And he starts looking at the books and he's like, hey, these numbers aren't adding up. And so he investigates and he discovers all those checks Yo was writing to herself and a bunch of other evidence. And he's like, this asshole is stealing from us. And so, bam, he relieves her of her duties with the company. And this is where everything starts to go wrong. Because this is when Yo goes out and buys a pew-pew. A few months later, tax season rolls around, and Yo, who was Selena's assistant and managed the finances for 2 of her business entities for her, has some financial documents that Selena needs to get from her. And Yo keeps saying that she'll hand over these documents, but she doesn't. She's always making up excuses as to why she can't. Then, right before taxes are due, Selena finally gets her on the phone. And she's like, give me my tax documents. And Yo is like, okay, fine. I'm over at this motel. You can come here and pick them up. And so Selena goes to this motel and she goes up to the room and Yo gives her a stack of documents. The next morning, Selena is looking through all that paperwork and she realizes that the specific tax papers she needs still aren't in this stack. Yo never actually gave them to her. So she gets on the phone with her again, and instead of talking about tax papers, Yo starts making more excuses, talking about how she had been SA'd recently on a trip to Mexico, and that she can't give her the tax documents because she really needs to go to the hospital and get herself checked out because she's bleeding from all the SA. And so Selena, being the nice person that she is, she wants to help. And she drives over to the motel to pick her up and take her to the hospital. And there, at the hospital, a doctor examines Yo and finds no indication that she was ever SA'd, suggesting that she made it all up and that it's just another elaborate excuse to not hand over those tax documents. And Selena learns about this and she is not happy. So she drives Yo back to the motel and she goes inside the room with her and she's like, I need those financial papers now. Stop bullshitting. And Yo is just not gonna hand them over. And so they start arguing, and Selena gets really mad, and she's had enough. And so she takes off that egg-shaped ring that Yo had given her, the ring that symbolized them being friends for life. And this absolutely destroys Yo. I mean, how could she do this to her? This friendship was everything she had worked for. And so she pulls out that pew-pew that she had bought before and she points it right at Selena. And Selena's like, oh shit, and she tries to run away, and then blam, Yo shoots her right in the back shoulder. But Selena just keeps running out of the motel room and outside, while Yo continues chasing her, screaming, bitch! Like she's gonna shoot her again. And so Selena runs into the lobby of the motel and she tells him, I've been shot, and she falls to the floor. Minutes later, she's in an ambulance on her way to the hospital. Meanwhile, police, they show up to the motel and they're now looking for Yo. So they search around and they eventually find her in the parking lot sitting in her red pickup truck. And police are like, come out with your hands up, or whatever. And Yo is like, nah, I'm just gonna unalive myself. And so this turns into a whole standoff. And then the SWAT team shows up and they're all trying to negotiate with her, trying to get her to not unalive herself. And as all this is going on, Selena, who's at the hospital in critical condition, she unfortunately passes away. She was only 23 years old.
Thank you, Ben. That's right. We are standing by live in Corpus Christi, right across the street from the Days Inn where this shooting did occur earlier today.
And 9 hours go by, and it's nighttime now. And Yo is still in her truck in the motel parking lot in a standoff surrounded by police. Because she's still got that pew-pew and she's still threatening to unalive herself. Now, eventually, she does give up, and police swoop in and bam, they arrest her. Here's her mugshot. And she ends up going to trial, and she's found guilty, and she gets sentenced to life in prison. It's a sad one.
Damn, dude. For some reason, I thought Selena would have survived that. I'm not gonna lie. My thought is, why was a girl that made a fan club in charge of the finances? Like, just leave that up to the father.
Thank you all for watching this here video. Please like and subscribe.